Marriage is a transaction.
Yeah.
Right? It's something that we could literally do as like just as co-workers and go get married.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that you're my husband?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
I mean,
you're not my husband. I just married you though. We're married, but you're not my husband. A husband is something completely different. A wife is something completely different. A lot of people are married, but they're not husband and wife. You have to allow marriage to be whatever you need it to be for you.
Mm-hmm.
People tend to get married for different reasons, right? Whether they realize it or not. A lot of women are getting married because they think that they have to be married before a certain age, or they become spinsters and old maids and all that antiquated crap. That's actually still a thing. People really think 30 is old, and if they're not married or having kids by the time they're 30, they've failed somehow, which is insane for those of us who are in our 40s, 50s, 60s, who look back at our 20s, 30s, like, honey, save it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
it's always going to be women that's in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that's giving the younger women bad advice so they can end up just like them, because misery just loves company. And to say that 30 is too young when geriatric pregnancy starts at 35 is crazy. If you don't have no prospects at 30 to marry, then you have to do some simple mathematics. So if you have nobody at the age of 30, what age do you want to get them? Let's just say 32. If you get somebody at 32 and you're married, how much kids do you want to have? Is it 1 or is it 2 or is it 10? Because if geriatric pregnancy starts at 35, around there, then you're in for a lesson. These women may talk a good game, but it doesn't make any sense. Because one thing you cannot do is beat biology. So to think that you're going to spend your 20s and your 30s doing as you please, in your 40s and 50s, then you want to start a family? Okay.
I was married first out of fear because I lived alone. I was already very successful. I owned my first house. I was already a millionaire. I had already done all these great things in my life at 20 something years old. And then someone broke into my house. I got so scared that the guy that I was seeing at the time, who was not a good person, I was like, can you please come live with me? That turned into us getting married. He used that time in my life, that weakness in my life, to kind of take advantage of my fear of living alone in this big house by myself. We're in a hill, so like I'm all by myself in this dark, weird hill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Accountability is like kryptonite. Maybe I just missed it. Maybe she said something different, but it sounded like she was scared and she wanted him to move in, not he wanted to move in because she was scared. I may have heard that wrong.
I got so scared that the guy that I was seeing at the time, who was not a good person, I was like, can you please come live with me?
It's sad because women like this say certain things like this, and then younger women look at them and say, well, she was 26 and she had everything and she was rich and she was a millionaire, forgetting that the fact that she got her millions off of what? Off of selling herself to some degree, which was kind of a high degree in her case. And then after she gets all her money, she goes out there and she purposely moves to the hills, next to nothing. And then somehow, some way, she's a damsel in distress for the decisions that she made. And then she messes with a guy that she knows is no good and that she wants to live with her. That's a recipe for disaster in itself. But again, her decisions, everything that she made up, not her fault. Don't matter. It's the Pookie that she chose that's the problem.
So that was fear. My second marriage was just to help someone get a green card. And that didn't work out for him. I had rules. I was like, if I'm going to help you do this, you're going to do boom, 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 and boom. And he was great though. Like he cooked all the food and made my bath water and like massaged me every night after my shower. And he did all the things that I needed him to do around the house, but he broke my trust. Once my trust is broken, then I'm like, all bets are off. So, and my third marriage was part of a fever dream. I think that it was just out of...
fever dream? Was that?
It was just like a spiral. I was like in a weird... It's like one of those things you do in Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Right? It's like one of those like, let's go to Vegas and get married. It was one of those like weird moments of like, I'm super drunk, let's get married. And so...
3 failed marriages because you wanted to do whatever you feel like doing and family was not important. You didn't need no guidance from nobody. You just did as you feel. She's not an ugly woman. So that means she definitely could have got a man, a good one, but she chose wrong over and over and over again.
He ended up being married to somebody else at the same time. So he was I married a polygamist. What I learned about my marriages is that they were all based on all the wrong things.
You think?
And I realized how many women are getting married based on all the wrong things. And a lot of women are marrying out of fear, one fear of another, whether it's just like getting old or being alone. A lot of women are afraid of being alone, which is really a fear of being with one's self is really scary to people. Most people are never alone.
Yeah.
Never alone. Like they're never alone. Between work, family, friends, they're never alone.
Yeah.
That's still being alone. Being alone doesn't mean just not being around people. When you go to work, you see those people at work, you come back home and you're alone. You can go visit a family member, you come back home and you're alone. That's not something that women look for. Women look for companionship. That's what you mean by being alone. Do you have a companion? No matter how she try to frame it, women want to be with a man and have that companionship. The same way a man wants to be with a woman and have some type of companionship.
And they can't imagine what it's like to eat by themselves, go out by themselves, be with themselves. They're very uncomfortable with that. So a lot of women are getting married out of that fear of being alone, not having kids, not beating the clock. Let me do this before I'm 30, before I can't have kids anymore. People tell you that by the time you're 40, you can no longer have children. That's a lie.
They say that it's a high-risk pregnancy after the age of 35. You can have kids. It's just that your kids have a higher likelihood of having some type of birth defect or not making it. That's biology. That's a fact. The 42-year-old woman that pushed out a baby is the exception, not the rule.
I don't feel like families matter, like, really at all. And I know most people feel like they do, but in the grand scheme of life, you've got to make your own decisions. You got to make your own way. As we grow up, we come apart from our families. We make our own homes and we make our own families at some point. So it's part of that tearing away, is being able to say whatever my mom thinks, my dad thinks, my aunts, uncles, cousins, none of that matters. What matters is what I think, how I feel, and what I want.
This is a recipe for disaster. The point of having family is so they can guide you in the right direction. Only a person without family would say something like this. For a woman to base her life on how she feels, she's going to have an incredible life because her feelings fluctuate, so therefore her life will fluctuate. And I think a lot of women go with that. This is the reason why they be head over heels for whatever guy that they with for the moment, but then once their feelings change or their sense start to kick in, then they be like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. Of course, somebody named SuperHead that was living that type of lifestyle, of course she's going to say that family doesn't matter. Whatever you want matters, because misery always loves company.
So it's difficult for a lot of people to do, but it's a necessary step of growing up and becoming an adult. Is thinking for yourself, feeling for yourself, and doing whatever the hell you want to do. Marriage is whatever you decide it's going to be.
Okay.
Right? So I feel like you can go to the courthouse and get the paperwork and get the stamp and get the whole thing. A lot of people are married, but they're not with their husbands or their wives.
What do you mean?
Right. So you can be married and not be with your intended spouse, with the person that God has for you, with like your actual person.
Oh.
Right? Marriage doesn't mean you're with your person. That just means you married somebody. I could literally take you to the courthouse tomorrow. Not even the courthouse. We could go down to this guy named Fernando. He works, it's down in San Vicente. It's in mid city. We could get married in 30 minutes. It costs $364.
She knows way too much and too much in detail. Only women have the privilege of saying that marriage is just whatever you want it to be and however you feel. They say that because they look for this knight in shining armor, and that's the reason why divorce rates is so high. Because of course, if you're looking for a Prince Charming and you stuck with the frog, you ain't gonna want to stay there. However, marriage is about duty. And if the frog is taking care of you and taking care of the kids and making sure the house is good and making sure you're in good health and making sure that you have everything that you need, then maybe you should stay with the frog. But to women like this, it's like, whatever, this is not really my person. In other words, he's not a good enough time for me. They have this imaginary person in their head that just does not exist.
The idea that, especially in the Black community, I've realized, in America especially, I'm an island girl, so we don't have this where I'm from. This whole, like, you can't keep a man thing. We don't have that where I'm from.
What do you have?
We have, like, don't keep a man. Like, get rid of this man.
Oh, really?
Get rid of him.
Huh.
Flag on the play.
Okay.
Like, we're done.
All right.
Right? I never heard that term growing up. Like, why aren't you married? You can't keep, I've never heard that. It was like, why you want this? He ain't it. Like, let's get, like, boom. Next is just, listen, we got carnival and shit. We not trying to get stuck where we're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
Where I'm from, island women we rule the island, so men are secondary to us in that way, right?
Okay.
Like, I don't know, very, very feminist.
That's not true.
Island. It's like an island of feminists. Nobody wanted to settle down and just accept any old thing, right? We demanded that men show up for us in different ways. I'm still in my second year of celibacy. I'm dating super light. Like super light.
So first date, you say, hey, I'm dating for marriage?
No, first date, I was like, this is not for you. This is for me. Everything's for me.
What does that mean?
It means that this is not for, like, don't get happy about this.
So you're not dating to be with the person?
No, I'm dating for the experience for me.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right?
Fantastic. If a woman can come to you and tell you that she's dating for her, like this is just for me, and you stupid enough to go along with it, you deserve everything that come with that.
But also, I'm okay with never being married again. I'm okay with not doing any of those things again, with not having more kids, not getting married, not being in a relationship, and not having sex. I'm okay with every single last bit of not.
A lot of women will come out and say things like this, and it's actually true, and it's because they already ran themselves through the ringer. If she slept with all of these guys, a lot of men on camera wrote books about it. She already has children. She's been married even though it's 3 bad marriages. Of course she doesn't care. It's nothing else left for her, which is a terrible thing for women. It's terrible because anything that a good man wants, you no longer have. I call them bottom feeders. The only thing left for her is bottom feeders. The type of guy that's so desperate to be with a woman that he would do anything to be with her. Any man that actually deals with her and knows of her is a coward. This is a man with no integrity at all, no standards. He just has to be with a woman for whatever reason he has to.
And it's a really powerful position to be in. The scariest woman is a woman who doesn't need any of those things. I'm not validated anymore by my relationships. I'm not afraid anymore, so no man can comfort me. I don't need anyone to do or give me anything. I give all those things to myself. My celibacy did that for me. I don't need validation for any. I know who I am. I don't need anybody to wake up in the morning and tell me I'm pretty. I know I'm fucking pretty. I'm gorgeous every day of the year. Like, I don't need you for anything. I pay my own bills. I make my own way. I don't need a man to do anything. And that's a really refreshing feeling.
It's a sad feeling. It's a really refreshing feeling for her because she can't get men of quality. So of course it's refreshing for her because her dating life is done. So if that's the case, then yes, it is refreshing to know that you can always have money. You can tell yourself you're pretty. You can do everything for yourself because no man is ever going to do it for you anyway. At least none with integrity. The men that you actually want. If they'll never do it, it's a really refreshing feeling to know that you can do it for yourself. Not because you really want to, but because you have to. But she did get one thing right. That is the scariest type of woman. Because there's nothing worse than a person that always shows that they don't need you, don't want you in some type of way. Like you're just here just to exist.
Guys, so you hear that? She's single and she's dating, but she don't need you.
That means that this person can never show you any gratitude. Why would you want to be with somebody that shows no gratitude?